Every spring there's a window of opportunity out in South Dakota on the Missouri River where the walleyes come up shallow and they position themselves on cut banks. And the cool part about it is that they get real aggressive. So you can use things like artificial tails and jigs and just get a bunch of fish. So it's a ton of fun. So when I started thinking about going out jigging, the first thing I thought about is got to stop and get my buddy Jeff Stephensen. Jeff and I have fished a lot of years together and he just loves to pitch jigs. So we're going to go out to Platte, South Dakota. It's a section of the Francis Case Reservoir that I've never really fished. I'm going to go out there and pitch shallow, and I'm going to go out and get the next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, next bite. Just looking for the next bite.
We'll continue to show you the next bite.
Breaking down big water doesn't have to be intimidating.
He picked it up about halfway out.
And what's cool is when you get the chance to do so on waters with such a scenic shoreline.
Oh, look at it, he's still milking. A little bit of milk.
So we got a male here.
So it's a male.
But whether it's the pictured rocks of Lake Superior or the towering bluffs of the Francis Case Reservoir, this time of year in the right spots with the right approach.
He hit it and ran with it, actually. Almost, you know, like there's more than one of them up there.
There is a real opportunity for catching a ton of post-spawn migratory walleyes.
I mean, he literally grabbed it and ran. And sometimes when they do that, that's a sign that maybe a couple more fish are around kind of competing with them. So when you come out to Francis Case, you'll notice running down the reservoir, there's just lots of bluffs and points. And a lot of times you want to pick out some of the best ones. First of all, I want ones that are sharper breaks at shore. So a lot of times if you look at the face of the bluff, you can kind of tell it's going to be a little sharper break at shore. You want that nice, almost sheer face on it. The other thing though that you want is somewhat of a shelf coming out, and so that you're still fairly close to shore but in deep water. So what I'm looking for is like 12, 13, 14 foot, but we can still cast right up to shore. So look for those steep bluffs, look for that 12, 13 foot of water. Odds are you're going to be in a place where you can catch some jig fish.
While most of the bottom of this reservoir's vast shoreline is conducive to an easy retrieve for jigging, one of the aspects that makes it so much fun.
Jeff's got one.
It feels pretty decent.
Wind can quickly change an otherwise pleasant stretch of shoreline into a real challenge for boat control.
That's a good one. I mean, it's kind of the size we're looking for right there. He's about a 19-incher. So one of the tricky parts about fishing out in a reservoir like this is you actually want a little bit of wind to be blowing up on these banks to get the fish a little active, but obviously when it does start blowing, the boat control gets a little harder, especially when you're doing something like pitching a jig out there. You can't be just ripping down these shorelines coasting with the wind. So one of the nice things I'm using right now is something called anchoring. So I've actually used a remote control here and hit anchor. And then to move down the shoreline, I get to use something called jog. So I'm anchoring and jogging. I can simply move the boat back. Say I hit this bottom button twice, I move back 10 feet. If I want to move over a little, I can hit a left button, move over 5 feet. If we do catch a fish, I just leave it in anchor. It holds me right there. So both Jeff and I can hop in the back of the boat. We're both real precisely covering this bank with our jigs, just letting that trolling motor do all the work, anchoring and jogging right down these banks.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury, #1 on the water. Amsoil, performance for serious adventure. Tracker boats, fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Berkeley, catch more fish. Mustad, stay sharper longer. Lowrance, find, navigate, dominate. Motor Guide trolling motors engineered for anglers. Strike King, legacy of domination for 50 years. And Power Pole, swift, silent, secure.
Let me show you exactly how we're catching these fish pitching up to these bluffs. First of all, we're using a 1/8 ounce jig. It's either in fire tiger or this parrot has been really good. Seems like a little bit of chartreuse is important. Then we're plucking on there, just going up through the bottom of the head and out through the top. We're putting a 3-inch gulp minnow. Early on, smelt was really good, but man, pink shine just really, I guess, started to shine. What you want to do is make a nice long cast, fairly close to shore. It doesn't seem like they were right tight to shore for us. Then the next thing you want to do is obviously just let it drop down to the bottom, but then just simply lift your jig off and hold your rod still. Let that jig swim back to you, and that's when, as it's swimming, you'll feel those tick bites. So just nice and easy, short little hops, but holding that rod nice and still. Maybe pop the jig a little bit and just work it back. The fish are either going to be down and pick it up off the bottom and you'll feel a little presence, or more likely than not, bam, nice tick bite. Set the hook, you got a walleye. I got him, Jeff.
Good.
He's way up close to shore there. Gave it one little hop and there he was.
Let me get this up. You want me to get it?
Yeah. Decent one, huh? Lift him right in. 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. He'll lift that guy in. And I got him right in the top lip, right where you want him. I mean, I cast it way in there. I just popped it up one time and boom. Since the rest of the line is no stretch besides the leader, it's a nice, easy one to see.
Yeah. When I'm pitching jigs, which is one of my favorite ways to fish, one of the important pieces of the tackle is the line. And in fact, it's 2 lines. I like a no-stretch line, nanofill, which is a bright green line, and it gives me good visibility and it's got no stretch. The other end of the line is a fluorocarbon line. So the key to connecting these two is a knot that both has to be strong, and you want it to slip in and out of the eyes of your rod and not impede that. The idea is that you put a loop in the fluorocarbon and you slide the line through the fluorocarbon, and then you loop it around the fluorocarbon 10 or 11 times, and then take the tag end of the line and put it back so it goes through the loop the same way it came in, and then you pull the knot up tight, cut the tag lines, and you've got the best of both worlds.
During the spring, the male walleyes hang around the shallower areas longer than females, who have already laid their eggs, which are the majority of fish that Keith and Jeff are jigging off cut banks.
It doesn't even look like it's hardly hooked.
You know, it might not be. I'm wondering. I'll look and, oh, look at this. It doesn't have a hook. I think I can just pour it out of it.
However, the females and males who are completely post-spawn are simultaneously transitionary during this same time frame, using the deeper breaks of the reservoir to move out to their would-be summer haunts.
Walleyes cannot resist the mouse-colored flicker minnow, just as the humans cannot resist the chocolate chip oatmeal cookie.
Therefore, techniques like trolling crankbaits can really open up a whole new side to this spring walleye bite on the Francis Case Reservoir, for not only numbers, but size as well. Keith and Jeff have known each other and fished together for several years, and Keith has seen more than his fair share of walleye bites throughout his professional career.
I mean, we sit here and we're marking so many, you would think we'd be catching a ton.
That being said, he's picked up a rather unique radar when it comes to guesstimating the size of a walleye.
A little bigger mouth. That's how you can gauge them, you know, when they're not monsters.
I know, you've told me that.
You gauge them by their mouth.
Given you're seeing the mouth, tell me how long you think it is.
17 inches. It's a 17-inch mouth. You're going to put them on the ruler too, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Why not? I haven't seen you be wrong by more than an inch. Hardly ever.
What do you think?
I think you're close to 17 inches.
16 and a half, maybe. I underguestimated it by a ½ inch. Mouse. All right, let's see how close I was. Oh, he's only got me 16 and a half.
So maybe it's just a big mouth.
He's got a bigger mouth than he's supposed to have for a 16
right.
incher.
There you go.
The Real Deal, real fishing information from real fishing experts, presented by AmSoil.
There's a lot of fishing lines to choose from. One of my favorite and the most versatile in my arsenal is Berkeley Fireline. I use it for a lot of different techniques. Take vertical jigging for instance. I can feel the bottom, it's sensitive, and I can detect strikes, especially in cold weather when you may not have the feeling you need. Also use it for pitching. In high vis, bright green, you can see the line going through the water. You can see it jump when a fish takes it. In turn, you can set the hook and get it before the fish spits that jig back out again. And its abrasion resistance allows me to bring it through zebra mussels, sticks, twigs, you name it. If I get that fish on and it's in heavy cover, I know the strength of that fire line will allow me to pull that fish out of that heavy cover and get it back to the boat. And what's really great right now is they've got fire line tracer, which is metered in 5-foot increments so that I don't have to use a line counter. You can get by with using your regular spinning gear and count out the number of colors as you're letting your crankbait out. So if you're using this in conjunction with a tool like precision trolling data and you want to get that crankbait out to a certain depth, this metered tracer will allow you to do that. So I'm picking up time, I'm catching more fish, and I'm having a lot more fun.
So there's basically two patterns going on out here on the reservoir. One is obviously the shallow pitching, but the other one is that as these fish and they're spawning, what they'll do is start to migrate down the reservoir to their summer haunts. And one of the things that we want to look for when we're fishing is actually some flats. If you look right here where we are, this big wider blue here, that's a flat coming further out from shore. So I kind of like that, but what I really like is that kind of in the middle or at the edge of that flat is a sharp break. And that's what we're holding on, kind of the edge of the break. Because the fish will take and they'll be on that flat, but then they'll move out off that flat and kind of suspend off the break. So when you're looking for these places, again, look for the blue to come out, but then a sharp break. It's these kind of flats that I look for post-spawn females to be migrating down the reservoir. We're kind of getting to the end of the flat here. You see how it's the flat's kind of curling in there. We're kind of coming to the end. We'll probably just reel up and head back up.
That rod.
Ooh, that's a good bend there. I hope it's a fish.
What's it feel like?
I don't know, it's like it's not shaking, like almost like I got a rod or something. You know how you can catch somebody's line and it pulls up the whole rod? Come on now, don't be doing that stuff. He decided he was gonna get a little goofy there. You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna bring him right to you.
He's got another
barely
line.
hooked. Get him, Jeff, get him! Yeah!
Look at this.
No, he's got the other line. That's probably what it made it feel a little goofy out there, right?
Wow.
This is definitely what they call an over here on Francis Case. You can only keep one fish a day over 20 inches. Of course, we aren't keeping any, but he got that back. That's on a little number 7. Now, the reason we use lead core is because the 7 won't go down very deep, but we're fishing in like 35 feet of water. He was right down there in the bottom.
How long do you think that fish is?
Oh, he's probably a good 22-incher. He's got a little bit of belly on him now, so. And this is probably a female, a spawned out female right here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, so that's a nice fish. So what we're fishing here is kind of the edge of a big flat that comes off of shore, but there's actually a pretty good break on the outside. We're gonna put some boards out that have got some suspended lures on them, but then I wanna run this little number 7 flicker minnow down towards the bottom. Now we're gonna be fishing anywhere from 30 to 35 foot deep, so obviously a little bait like this can't run that deep all on its own. So what I'm gonna use is what's called lead core line. Now lead core line is this colored line here in my reel, and the idea is that it's weighted. So the more of it I let out, the deeper it's gonna go. I actually attach to that lead core line a liter of fire line. So this is 10-4 fire line, and then that attaches right to my bait. Now a lot of people ask, well, how do you know how far out to let your line so that you can get this down towards the bottom? We use something called tick and lift for that. So all I'm gonna do for this is let out enough line and lead core so I finally see this little bait ticking the bottom, then I simply reel up a little, keep track of how deep I am, and I know I'm running down close to the bottom. So the beauty of lead core line is that it can take small lures like this little flicker minnow, bring them down into the depths that I want, and hopefully trigger a walleye to bite.
Racy shad and alewife have proven to be the most effective colors while trolling.
I think it's a pretty good one. I was actually making a little inside turn.
But Keith's next bite is another suspended fish, which so far have been harder to trigger overall. And that has Keith's wheels continuing to turn, ever minding the details inside the details.
100 back on that 9 would be 17, 18 foot down. You know, we marked a ton of fish up there. And maybe that with that inside turn, that bait just slowed down a little. Maybe I'm trolling a hair fast. I was only going 1.6, 1.7, but maybe we just got to slow down a little and it'll trigger some of them suspended ones. I'm thinking it's a good one.
Yeah, well, it hasn't shown its mouth
Staying
yet.
down,
Yeah.
it's... Oh, there he is,
I
Jeff.
see it.
He's cruising.
I'm ready.
He's a cruising. Get him, Jeff. There we go.
Great.
Nice. Get him in here. Oh, that's a good one.
Let's collapse the net.
This is a little fatty too. He bit on that racy shad color.
Yeah, I can see that. It's nice.
He's all in the net. Wasn't gonna get away, I guess. Look at how he hit it. He hit the middle hook, but then it swung around, and so it made it even feel bigger. Really
Still
didn't
pretty nice
Didn't need
fish.
that much help though. Look at the size of him.
Yeah.
Or probably she's probably a post-spawn female, you know. So I mean, look at you can tell she's gonna be a big one someday. She's got a little bit of a kind of a humpback starting back there to give her some weight and girth.
It looks like she's got some sores from spawning too.
Yeah, yeah. But right now we're gonna let her recoup some more. Take this. That's a good little bait though. That number 9's really been hammering them. It's a good fish. And maybe just a little slower. Like I said, I made a little inside turn and boom, there it was.
Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
One of the most asked questions that we have on the nextbite.tv is, why do you guys use a tiller handle on your kickers? Or why would you do a remote control on your kickers? This is a 9.9 Mercury Pro kicker, and the reason that I run a tiller handle is because I have to fish so many different bodies of water during the course of the year. Anywhere from the Dakotas, basically trolling lead core on sheer straight cliff type drop-offs, to the basins of Lake Erie and Lake Winnebago and Green Bay, the big flat expanses where we're catching suspended fish. Where the tiller becomes necessary for me is when I'm trolling those steep drop-offs. That's the real key. I have to be able to turn literally that fast to be able to stay on those contours the way that I need to. For a lot of anglers though, they never see a condition like that. And so having a tiller handled kicker doesn't make a lot of sense for them. And that's when you tie the kicker into the big motor with a tie bar. The other nice thing is you don't have to stand all day long when you're using the kicker. You can actually sit in your driver's seat and steer with your steering wheel back and forth. And basically the kicker will steer right along with the big engine. So those are the two setups. And I would say right now there's probably more people rigging their boats with remote kickers than what they are with the tiller handle version.
Keith and Jeff have been using trolling and jigging to catch these springtime migratory Francis Case walleyes.
I believe this is a 100 back on a flicker minnow.
And specifically on the trolling side, using a combination of boards with monofilament line for suspended fish and lead core line for the fish mark just off the bottom.
So as we were trolling along here, I saw just a perfect example of what we're actually fishing out here on this flat. Cool thing about the HDS units is if you see something on your screen you'd like to share with somebody, all you have to do to save that screen is hit both the top pages button and the power button at the same time, and it will actually save that to your hard drive. Now, once you've got that screen saved and you want to share it with somebody, what you'll do then is hit the pages button, you'll go over to files, you hit my files, you hit screenshots, and I believe the one that I wanted to show you is screenshot number 15 here, view. And that'll bring up actually that screen that you saved out there. We're actually out off the edge of the flat just a little bit, but what you can see is a lot of suspended fish down 20, 18, 21. But then you can also see these fish down close to the bottom. And these are the ones we're targeting with lead core. These are the ones we're targeting with monofilament. So again, if you're seeing something on your screen you want to show everybody, just hit those two buttons and it'll save it to your hard drive. Send it into the Next Bite Facebook page or the Next Bite website. We'd be glad to look at it for you. Otherwise, if you're out in South Dakota and you see a screen like this, it's the time to get out the boards and get out the lead and catch some walleyes. Here's one, Jeff. Snuck up behind me.
I'm just letting this one out. I didn't even see it go off.
Yeah, go ahead and get that net.
Okay, I'm on it.
He's coming up, but he feels heavy enough. Oh, there he is, way out there. Look at there.
Is it on the surface?
He's on the surface. It looks like a pretty good mouth to me. That's pretty common with fish that when they hit that lure sideways like that, they get a kind of pride in their mouth.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
why
it kind
it
of
came up so far back.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
prise their mouth open, and then just that water resistance going in that big round mouth
Right. I got
pulls
the
them
net.
up to
I'm
the
ready
surface.
for it.
But he's playing big. Why don't you hop right up on that back deck?
Okie doke.
Hop right up there.
I'm ready.
Here he comes. Right there. There we go.
Got it.
Just pull that net closed there. It'll collapse real quick here. Nice. Yeah, he bit the middle hook. But that's the thing, when they bite that middle hook and then they kind of get their whole mouth pried open and they kind of plane to the top, they don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Actually, in a tournament, I love fish that do
Usually
that.
a fish this big would have stayed down. That had to be the reason.
They just kind of, but look at, he bit that middle hook. Look at that little lure there. That one's really producing.
There it is. It's
called alewife. A little purple and white. Boy, triple grip's got him good. That's a good fish there. It's probably pushing 23 inches there. Yeah, that's a spawned out female there. They only spawned a couple of weeks ago, and what they're probably doing here is migrating across these flats, so they really aren't living here.
Yeah.
But they're migrating along, and
yeah, and they're hungry.
yeah, and they go, oh, look at minnow. I've heard of them. I should bite that. Lure for you. Should be some antelope running somewhere. You're a superstar. Star of the show. Getting into the danger zone here, you know that, don't you? Some great bites. We're gonna get some great bites.
The Next Bite would like to thank Platte Creek Lodge, South Dakota's premier lodge for recreation, hunting, and fishing. For more information on Platte Creek Lodge, visit plattecreek.com or call 605-337-9777.